All righty. We'll call this meeting to order for our budget work session. And first of all, I want to thank you all for being here and everything y'all do for the town of Fletcher. Y'all make the town of Fletcher go around. And I want to be considerate of everybody's time, so we'll just go ahead and jump into it. So first we have IT, Mr. Matthew Horton.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it looks like it.
It's on.
All right, so I'll give you a current overview of where we're at for the year with our existing projects in IT, and then kind of go into what we're thinking for the upcoming 24-25. Unfortunately, it's a little too early to have, concrete cost information for any of this stuff. It's kind of up in the air whether or not we're going to actually tackle some of these projects, but I figure I'll lay it all out, and then as we get closer to the time, we'll have more concrete information. So for this year, Council approved a variety of IT decision packages, as well as some decision packages for other departments that directly impact IT to a major degree. So we've been rocking and rolling on those for a good amount of time this year. We've already implemented our Microsoft Office cloud licensing upgrade, which allowed us to implement some new security measures. Some of those are in place now. The rest of them are going to be rolling out over the next several weeks. We got our new server for Town Hall in just a few weeks ago. It was delivered. We've got it installed and are going to proceed with the Mace software isolation project that we had defined last budget cycle. And that's going to allow us to kind of isolate and protect that application and also allow us to upgrade our desktop operating system to Windows 11 on our machines because it's not currently compatible with that. We are currently waiting on our network switch project that was approved for this year. Just waiting for the vendor to get back hardware quotes. The switches that we were originally going to buy, the manufacturer discontinued them, so it's kind of put a spanner in the works. So we're waiting for an alternative quote for that. I don't think that's going to change the cost of that project really at all. So it's just a matter of it being delayed. This was kind of part of last year's project, but it flowed over into this year. We've completely replaced the security cameras both here at Town Hall and at Fletcher Park. That new system is a cloud-based system and is in place now. Currently working pretty well. There's a couple of glitches with it that we're trying to iron out, but we're working with the provider for that. I think it'll be fully operational coming up pretty soon. We are currently in the midst of implementing a body cam system for Fletcher PD. It's a pretty involved process. It requires a good amount of internet bandwidth for our site here because this is where we're transmitting the videos from. Our internet speed is scheduled to be doubled coming on January 22nd. So we should be in a good position for that. But that's currently about where we're at for stuff for this year. Do you guys have any questions or need me to go into any further detail about any of this stuff?
How many cameras do we have at the Fletcher Park?
Fletcher Park, I believe it is either 8 or 9. Actually, it's 9 now because they replaced one camera with 2, the one at the entryway. So now we've got a camera pointing towards the park and towards the street.
That answered my next question. Did we add any?
Yes.
So you just added the one extra where you replaced the 2?
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
We also, since we were replacing everything, we took the opportunity to relocate some of the existing ones to better locations. We pretty much followed, Greg's request for where he wanted those. I have not heard of them needing anything else over there, to my knowledge.
Excuse me, I think we have better capability now to read license plates, I think, on some of the
Correct.
Positioning and clarity of the cameras or power of the cameras.
Yeah, they're higher resolution and it has an extremely powerful search feature where you can type in like red car or gray t-shirt and whatnot, and we'll actually pull up instances of those things appearing on the feed.
Good.
So it really helps out PD when they're doing their investigations.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we thank you, Matthew.
All right, well, let me hop into...
Yeah, so and just again as a reminder, I'm sorry I didn't mention it. So as we have in years past, we've asked department heads to give kind of a just quick update on things that we're implementing in the current fiscal year, and then just some big picture things we're possibly looking at for the coming year
I'm sorry
They'd be
for rushing you
coming
off.
back to you.
Yeah.
So, not a lot of huge details, not the full budget request, but just an opportunity to do those things.
No, I see how it is, because I'm about to talk about stuff that costs money, so, trying to get me out of here. All right, so what we've got coming up tentatively for next year, we're looking at several major projects that would be, end up being decision packages, I believe, in the upcoming budget. One thing that we're looking at is we're looking at a total phone system replacement for Town Hall. When I say Town Hall, that actually encompasses not only this building, but pretty much every other building that the town owns, because we have phones in all buildings, but it's all driven by the same system. The existing system was implemented in 2017. It will be in place for 8 years by the time we're at the point where it's going to be swapped. We really like to get like 10 years out of them, but unfortunately, we're kind of having call quality issues with the existing system. We've looked at the contracts. We'll be able to get out of the contract in a very reasonable time frame without having to pay penalties, so we're ripe for making a change. What we don't currently know is what provider that we're going to switch to. We're obviously going to get multiple proposals from multiple providers, but it's kind of up in the air right now, so unfortunately I don't have any cost information or even an estimation of what that's going to entail. We may be able to reuse the existing handsets, but then again, I don't like to do that because they suffer wear and tear just like any other physical device. And going in 8 years, getting new handsets is probably a good idea at this point. If the cost is reasonable, it's something we're likely going to pursue.
What kind of issues?
It's a variety of things, but it's mainly like they'll be talking and then the caller's voice will just drop out and then come back and then drop out and come back. Or sometimes, one party will be totally unable to hear the other party at the start of the call, even though the call, connects. We've obviously worked with the provider to try to resolve these problems, but it hasn't really gone very well. The current provider was bought out several years ago by an offshore company, and the quality has kind of tanked as a result of that.
Who's the current provider?
Current provider is a company called Sangoma. It's Sangoma. They were previously called Star to Star.
And you can hear it cut in and out when you're talking, usually the other party. I don't know if when we're talking, if it cuts in and out to them too.
Yeah, it seems relatively random as to which side is
Yeah.
the affected side, but
Yeah.
there's a little box in the downstairs equipment room that kind of drives internal call routing for the system. We've had to reset that thing constantly by pulling the power on it. It got so bad to the point where I installed a smart power device that allows me to reset that thing remotely instead of having to make the drive down here every single time because it was happening so often. We've replaced that thing multiple times, but unfortunately it just has not resolved the issues, and I don't think they're going to be resolved with the current system. So that's why we're looking at doing the replacement early, because obviously we need good working phones.
Every call or just every once in a while?
Every once in a while. It's kind of like, it's almost like it depends on the weather, although there's no real correlation there, but
I
it's
bet
like,
tomorrow will be a mess.
yeah. Some days it decides to behave and some days it doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's coming in the pipeline. So more information, I'll have more information when we have our next meeting. We'll have some potential providers picked out, and I may have cost information by then, so I'll let you know. Another thing we're looking at implementing is our company is partnering with a managed security service provider. What they do is they provide 24/7 monitoring for both internal resources and cloud resources that the town owns. So that would be our internal computers and servers, and then external resources would be our cloud resources, so Office 365, mailboxes, things of that nature. They're constantly looking for malicious activity, and they act as sort of a rapid response if anything is detected. It's very important to have something like that nowadays because, especially with the CGIS requirements that the PD has, if there ever were to be a breach, and a breach could be as little as, a random officer's mailbox gets compromised, we have to actually report that and work with their team to resolve that matter. So having rapid response capability with that type of thing, I think, is really important. Again, we're kind of early on in the process, so no cost information there, but we'll probably be proposing it in next year's budget. I think it does have value. Another thing we've got going on is a backup system upgrade. Our current backup system is, I believe, 4 years old now. We're actually sizing it down because we are decreasing our server count at the town. As more and more things move to the cloud, the need to retain on-site servers is being diminished. The video system, especially for the PD, kicking that to the cloud results in a gigantic reduction to our on-site storage needs. So I doubt the cost of that system will change. It'll just be, from a different provider, a newer unit. But just in case, we'll be proposing that as a decision package as well. And then finally, like I mentioned earlier, the Mesa isolation that we're going to be doing this year as part of this year's projects is going to allow us to move up to Windows 11 on our desktop machines. Windows 10 support is scheduled to end in late 2025, so it's the kind of thing that we need to start to get rolling on next budget year. So now that we're actually allowed to do that, we're going to want to start cycling hardware out. Windows 11 has specific hardware requirements that Windows 10 doesn't. Specifically, they require a special TPM chip in each machine. So it's going to be a good opportunity for us to do a desktop hardware refresh as well. We've been holding off on refreshing desktop hardware because we knew this was coming, several years down the road. So it's about time. The existing desktop machines are kind of long in the tooth as they are right now. So there will be some hardware expense there. I don't think we'll do them all next year, probably only half or maybe a third of them, and then get them, the next budget year after that, so that we ultimately beat the deadline. But that one, I believe, is coming as well.
Matt, will that affect any program operations? Will everything be compatible with Windows 11?
Yes, so that's one of the things that we check because it's extremely important. Any incompatible program, we are moving off into a virtual infrastructure where it will not be a problem.
Okay.
So yeah, we've taken that into account. The reason we haven't done any of this sooner or moved on it sooner is because of those programs. But now we have a solution for that, so we're ready to move forward. And that's all I had.
Any other questions, comments? Now we thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matthew.
I'd be afraid to ask if we had something else.
I know it. All righty. Ms. Atley Taylor, the floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I can't believe it's been a whole year. We just did this, right? So it happens really fast. So in our little spreadsheet there, you have the administrative department, professional services, and the town facilities department. And those are some that we, Mark and I, oversee in terms of admin. The administration department is pretty much salary and benefits for Mark, Christine, myself, and the two ladies in finance. So really, not much change going there besides, benefit-related items. Professional services, so that counts for legal, accountant, Fletcher Town Center expenses, Apple Country Transit, elections. So that's kind of where that department gets. We find a bunch of different other sources of people and companies. So that one, I don't really foresee a lot of changes going into next year. But to give you an update, currently in that budget, professional services, we budgeted the full pay and classification plan. And we are currently ongoing with that. We are on track to hopefully have preliminary information in February. Things are moving, so that may have impact. This year may have an impact next budget year as well. The town facilities department, I say it's the catch-all department because it's got postage for the town, it's got utilities, it's got the wellness stuff for our employees, so it's kind of a wide variety of different line items within that. I don't foresee any major changes next year, and there were no big projects in that department this year. So really, the part that we do in terms of Mark and I is really supporting all these departments behind us and making sure that all their projects get done, help with purchasing and stuff like that. So it's been a good year. Does anybody have any questions?
Oh, go ahead. Or sorry, I thought somebody had a question. How's the pay and class study going?
It's going good. So I spoke with the gentleman last week, and he says they've got everything that they needed from the town in terms of all the positions, description questionnaires from the employees. So now they're doing all their research, and then we'll come back with some preliminary information for the town. So we're moving ahead. I haven't seen anything, so.
Okay.
How often are we doing these class studies?
So the last one was 2018, 2019,
Okay.
in terms of the full one, so.
Yeah, we've been trying to do them at least every
4 to 5 years.
4 to 5 years to stay up stay competitive in the market
Is that
and
the-
make adjustments, because this looks at classification of positions too, if things need to change in there, the description of what people are doing.
Does it also include in that pay study of cost of living in certain areas of the state?
So that's one thing we'll probably have on my thing to talk to him when he come in and do the preliminary stuff is when he looks at it just a snapshot of this year, or should we look at, cost of living, how are we going to implement that for, July 1st as well? So that's something that's on my.
I didn't know if that was comparing it with another, like say Wilmington or
Typically
Charlotte
what they
stuff.
look at, most of our markets like Asheville, Buncombe,
Yeah.
like Henderson, Transylvania County, City of Hendersonville. So we kept our market pretty local.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So does it compare similar positions to the public sector and the private sector?
Just public sector.
Okay.
Do you have any idea when they'll get back with you on that?
He says hopefully schedule something, maybe he'll call us at the end of January to hopefully get something in February.
Okay.
So it may just be preliminary and then maybe a presentation to you in March. So it's kind of what we're leaning towards. Just in time for the March meeting.
For sure. We have any other questions? All righty,
Thank
we
you.
thank you. All righty, next up is Parks and Rec, Mr. Greg Walker. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Town Council. 2023 was a very busy year in Parks and Recreation. We're currently at 50.4% of our budget operating 6 months into the year, so we're on target with where we want to be throughout the spending side of recreation. Last year, we had over 8,964 direct participants in programs and events that we provided or supported at the park. Our daily attendance in our busy season, which is March through October, was almost 1,500 people per day. We had 3 events in the past year that were over 1,500, our Easter egg hunt, Family Festival, Halloween Carnival, and actually those last 2 were 2,500 at Family Festival, 2,200 at the Halloween Carnival. Rentals have gone really well with our shelters now with the rec desk service. People have really taken to that. We did $16,867 in revenue for shelters with Steelcase and Cates Park. Today, we actually had people renting for June, July, family reunions, birthdays this early in the year. Throughout the year, we generated $81,514.50 in program and event revenue for the January 1, December 31, 2023 year. Our Father-Daughter Dance sold out again. It's coming up on February 10th, and tickets are on sale today, and we've already sold some. So if you've been thinking about that, do it by tomorrow. We open to the general public tomorrow. Today, we're open to Fletcher residents. Summer day camp, as I said, is sold out again. The past couple of summers, we're bringing teen camp back this summer. It's been away for a couple of years, so we're excited about returning and having that. Probably our biggest project year to date was the multi-courts. Thank you, Mayor, Council, for supporting that, making that part of our park. It's been a great addition, very popular with the basketball, tennis, and pickleball. The reservation system has been working well through the fall into the winter. We've had 166 court reservations. That's a reserve time. And we've had 62 by residents, 104 by non-residents. We anticipate the courts to be very busy going into the spring year, and we're looking forward to seeing a full year of activity to see what that looks like. One of the things we probably will submit in our budget for a maintenance or support line is probably wind screens are going to be something we need to look at investing for the courts going into the next year. We had a lot of requests this fall, but we were just not there yet.
For what? I'm sorry.
Wind screens
Okay.
to buffer the courts. Currently, I've got a quote back at about $5,000 from a company that does wind screens. We'll reach out and get a couple more, and it's about $3,800 to have those installed as well. We would probably look at, if we got this approved, putting it in the July piece, they would go up sometime in late fall and stay up through the winter months. One item we probably want to take a look at, depending on future growth here at the park. Back in the fall, we had some bathroom backup sewer line issues in September and again in October. We had to have somebody's plumbing come in, do some repair work, do some clean out work. They've recommended that we look at having a new midline tap and a larger flow installed in the park, because our current situation is less than 1%. Mike Summy and his guys came out and looked. It would be about a $12,000 cost to do this. They would reconfigure so it would shorten the run, which would escalate the flow a little bit better to our outspills, and maybe get us close to maybe a 2% slope. We just had some periods in September and October where we just had complete stop in the lines, and we had to come in and have those guys clean out and redo those lines. So that's an item right now that's a projected cost of about $12,000. Mark and I talked, we may need to see about potentially having some engineering look at that, so that could add some additional cost to that going into the next part of the year.
We just want to make sure it's well-designed, and, the park's got a good amount of age on it, things settle, lines get a lot of usage, and the sewer, so,
Yeah, all of that
just may need
infrastructure is
this.
about 20 years old right
Yeah.
now, pretty close. So, and then as we talked about, we've seen, in the past 2 years, just tremendous growth in our daily use. Our program growth is up. Oftentimes, we've got 1,500 to 2,000 people a day in the park from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. So one of the things that we're looking at and kind of are looking at 5 years down the road, what's a need in the park, we feel like that we might need some more additional maintenance staff, and that could come in two forms. It could come in the form of some additional part-time people. But the challenge with that is, in this market, is securing those people, because construction is going really well. So that used to be where we found those good 20-hour-a-week type employees. Or it may be that we look at consideration of another full-time add-on with the maintenance. But that's something that Mark and Heather and I will sit down and talk about economically, what makes sense. But it really is, it's been, 15 years we've been operated with a staff of 4. Our events and our daily use has grown and grown. We really need to look at, to maintain, we're fortunate, we have a great maintenance crew. They do a super job with the park, and to maintain the level we're at with the volume of impact we're seeing daily, I just feel like it's time to take a good hard look at that.
You said it's 1,500 visitors?
Per day, yeah, and that's in our peak season, when we hit March, pushing forward through October. Then another item we're looking at that will probably show up in our request budget-wise is we're trying to look at some type of tractor with a sidearm boom to help do some of the mowing along the greenway, push back and trim. That's something we end up having to rent every season. It's a pretty costly rental item. So we know that that's probably something we're going to be doing for a long time. It might be worth the investment if we find the right price and the right tool to consider that as a item for the next year for a capital item.
What's the sidearm boom? What exactly does that
So
mean?
that'll go out 6 to 12 feet and take and cut
To
back
cut.
some underbrush.
Okay.
And push and clear back. We try to have at least a minimum. We like to have a 3-foot buffer. I would prefer to have a 6-foot. 6-foot gives me a little bit more confidence of safety when people are out there walking in the park with things going on. 3 foot is what we try to maintain.
I thought that's what you were referring to. The tractor that you have now, forgive me for asking, but just, do we have a tractor that would help clean out the creek next time we have another event? We
I
paid
don't
someone
know.
to do all
Yeah,
that.
You guys have anything?
What we normally do is just rent a piece of equipment,
Okay.
and it's,
And I think we talked about the benefits of that last time. Thank you.
it's pretty specific, and I've got a contact up there, and so they will give me something whenever I need it.
Okay. Sounds good. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's not.
And he usually uses, it's a Traco,
Yeah.
right? That's pretty,
Our
major
newest
piece of
tractor that we
equipment.
have, I'm sorry.
You're good, go ahead, go ahead.
But our newest tractor that we bought, it has capabilities of putting what he's talking about. on the
Okay.
machine.
Yeah, and it may be that we find an attachment that can fit that.
Okay.
So we're just looking at options.
Thank you. Anything else did you have? I feel like this is a Bob Davy question, so just humor me. What are the winter tasks for your staff what does that look like?
So they do fence repair. We're looking at starting next week painting the bathrooms. They just got through aerating all the athletic fields, and hopefully they're hoping to try to fertilize those going into this week. clearing back underbrush, restriped and repainted the entire parking lot in the park. So all of those kind of things that they don't have time to get to when we're in grass season, athletic season, camp season, those kind of things. So
We're also-
Mark's got a
we're-
punch list of items
Yeah.
where we get together every September, October, put that winter project together and work through it, so.
Also looking at, like, trying to inventory the signs.
We had one
And,
when I went there.
and park benches, picnic tables, garbage cans.
There's always plenty to
Some of that
do.
stuff that just.
People don't realize it, but
It
there
wears
is.
out and they need to be replaced if there's, the cover of the thing doesn't work right on the
Yeah.
cover of the can.
And then
garbage
one
can.
other question. Would it not be a good idea, can we not park the bus like in the old building or somewhere to get it out of the weather? It being
We
like
don't
a
have any room in the.
fairly new bus? Okay, there's,
Unfortunately, if we could have fit it in there at some point.
Yeah.
We would have, there's, on the one side, he's got trash cans, recycling cans, we've got all of our equipment and
Yeah.
vehicles in the other section.
okay.
So,
It's just an idea, we were thinking about that just this past weekend. It's like, oh, it's a fairly new bus, we need to try and get it out of the weather if we could.
If we had somewhere indoors, it would be there.
Okay. Jabbo just needs to make you some room down there.
You heard her, Jeff.
Hey, Greg,
I need to be quiet because I know what'll come up next, and I know we need to probably consider other things. Yeah.
10,000 square feet, both park.
That's what, I know it's years ago, but that's one of the things we were trying to do with that. And I know it didn't work
I
out,
know.
but that Parks and Rec maintenance
I know.
building that we did and everything.
I mean, it's still on the radar, it's just, at the time, we just could not wrap our heads around. It was,
Yeah.
it got up to be, what, 3 million at one point, or something crazy like that, and
I wouldn't want to know what that number is.
I think Hugh and I just had sticker shock.
I think still, as development happens and hopefully we develop the rest of the town center property on this side of the tracks here, around Town Hall, that ultimately, Public Works gets, there's a, high likelihood if that all happens, Public Works could be relocated because of that, and then Parks and Rec maintenance as well. It'd be nice to keep it as close to the park as possible, but we might have to move it to another site and, they trailer the equipment in during the, or maybe we have a way to store some of it on site. But,
Greg, what was that number again on the plumbing improvements for the sewage?
Roughly 12,000 right now.
That sounds kind of cheap to me. I just thought for what.
Well, they're looking
what
at
it
putting in,
entails.
and I
The
talked to
regrading and everything.
Mike, to Mike Summey right before this meeting, so it'd be
Yeah.
a new midline tap with a larger flow, with a
Yeah.
4-inch flow, and he's looking to be 2.083 slope to create more flow.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, but he said, with that being said, when them digging down and hitting, if they get down because of the limitation of our land, if they
Yeah.
hit water, then we run into some costs because we have to bring in some stone and do some backfill.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best case scenario, 12,000.
Okay.
and you might have mentioned this, but how many more staff members do you think you would need for maintenance to be
I mean,
sufficient? Or is there an
We're looking
idea?
at a projection of if we went with more part-time, 2 of those to get to the 40-hour mark, and if we went full-time, 1.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Thank
Sounds
you.
like not, thank you. All righty. Chief Terry, the floor is yours, sir.
Afternoon, Mayor, Council, good to see everybody. We'll highlight a few of the things we've had ongoing this fiscal year, and then we'll dive into next fiscal year. Probably within the next couple of weeks, I'll send for the manager's review. I typically do this every year. We'll send you statistics, numbers, you can kind of see what we've done, all our productivity and how many reports we've taken in various incidents. So I'll be sending that to you. Didn't have that put together today due to some people being ill and unable to put all the numbers together. That'll be coming pretty quickly. And then if you have questions, concerns, and stuff, we'll be able to address as we move forward to the actual budget hearings and talks and stuff. I'll start with recruitment. Obviously, that's been, we always touch on that, just to give you guys an update. On paper, we're only one position short. That's kind of exciting, but in reality, we're still 4 short. Because we got 3 people, we got 2 people that are in training, and then we have 1 individual who is supposed to be beginning the academy. Was supposed to begin at January 29th, but I just got a phone call, that's why I was late coming up here. It looks like they're pushing the academy off to March 1st, so that individual won't even start till March 1st. But on paper, we're down to 1, and we'll continue to recruit for that position, so we're certainly better than we have been in days gone by, but we'll continue to try to get us where we need to be. This last year, one of our goals is to increase community engagement and to, be out there and be involved in the community as much as we can, create opportunities to engage with the public, be open and create opportunities for me to be out there hearing from the public what their concerns are. Going back 2 years, in 2022, we had 22, I had logged 22 various community engagement events. And then this year, we've almost doubled that. We had 43 community engagement events in the year 2023. And as much as we would like to, continue to grow that and do more and do more and do more, based upon staffing and such, I probably I'd like to maintain that. I don't know that I'm pushing too much more, unless we, increase overtime budget and start paying people much overtime for these things. Myself and the captains are carrying most of that load, or at least significant portion of that load, just because, again, staffing. So we are making, we have increased that, we've almost doubled that, but, until we grow a little bit, I don't know that I'm pushing it too much farther. But we will continue to try to make sure that's a priority and stay involved in that. We did request, as part of that community engagement, we requested a side-by-side that we wanted to use. We submitted a grant for that. We were hoping that would help us at the park, make us a little more efficient. We could get in the park more frequently. We could cover the trails in the back where it doesn't get patrolled as often. If there was an issue, we could get there quicker. If we need to get back to our cars, we could get back to our cars quicker. But that grant was turned down, so we did not get that grant. That's something that it's more of a want than a need, so something that we'll maybe try a grant again, and we'll hang on to, probably revisit, but nothing immediately with that. Pill take-back events in the pill box. Just to give you a little bit of idea of how that is going in 2022, we collected 76 pounds of medication. That's equal to about 57,000 pills. And again, that was in 22. In 2023, we collected 192 pounds of medication, which equals 144,000 pills. So the box is getting used. Our take-back events have been successful, so that's good news. In our present fiscal year, the biggest item we had on the budget was our body-worn cameras. I'm sure you remember that was $234,000 or something. That is being installed. The installation will begin January 17th, so next Wednesday they're going to start that installation. We're very excited about that, and probably more exciting, and I'm sure most of you know this, we did obtain a grant from the state, so the grant is pretty much paying for all of it, and so probably for $200,000 plus is going to be returned to the general fund. So that is certainly good news, and we're glad, first and foremost, that we're getting those cameras and we're getting them installed, but secondly, we were able to save some money in doing it. Last time we had budget talks, we budgeted for a part-time evidence custodian position. That position is still open. We haven't filled it. We still want that position. We have had conversations with various people. We haven't posted it. Basically, we're trying to find the right person who's going to fit the culture of somebody with experience, rather than posting it, having to spend a lot of time and resources doing interviews, people that probably aren't experienced for it. And we had a lot of cleanup that needed to be done, a lot of evidence needed to be disposed of before we brought a new person in. So that is ongoing. We did not fill that position, but again, we've had conversations with several people, and for various reasons, things didn't work out, but we continue to look to recruit somebody for that position. And then just looking at the trends in crime rates, they have gone down the last several years. I just looked at some papers today. The official numbers from the state won't come out until mid next year. But looking at the numbers I saw today, I believe 23 continued to trend downward, so I think it's another good year for us. Exactly how far down, I don't know yet, but we'll continue to monitor what we do and what's going on in the community, try to adjust our resources accordingly to address whatever issues pop up. But I think things have looked very good as far as on the crime front. Some of the more recent concerns that you've heard, not necessarily the last month or two, but prior to that, traffic related, so we've made some adjustments, and we're trying to address some of the traffic concerns and traffic violations as well. So that's been ongoing. Is there any questions about kind of what we're doing today?
And just if I can just interrupt or add one other thing on, you mentioned the citations, there's definitely been an uptick in that, so just thank you to the police department and chief making a focus on that.
Have you heard any more from like the Windsor Forest residents or Livingston Farm as a residents? Things calmed down there?
No, yes, I haven't heard anything recently. That's kind of what I meant last month or two. It's been kind of quiet.
Good.
We've been doing a lot, and of course I document it, so when the complaints come up, I can show them we are doing stuff. And we recently got the new speed trailer, so we're moving that around and putting it in some of those places where we've had more complaints. Interestingly, the last couple of weeks, we had a speed trailer in Livingston Farms, and it actually does its own study. We used to have, we would have Jumbo PW do a traffic study with a speed trailer, records all that stuff on the computer. And so we look at that, and it's not, the problem's not real significant. We had it on English Oak there in Livingston Farms. I think in 5.5 days, there were 52 speeders, so that's average 10 a day.
Wow.
And that, it didn't break it down, that could be people doing 27 and 25.
Okay.
28 to 25, which,
Yes.
we're not gonna write a ticket for somebody that's 27 and 25. So even that 50, if we had that breakdown, it's gonna be a lot less as far as people, vagrantly out there just driving crazy who deserve tickets. And so I found that was a little interesting, looking at that data. But the speed trailer does that automatically, so that's kind of neat. That's much easier for us to gather that data. And so when these complaints come up, we get that out there, so we can do that. Make it at least more efficient.
I don't want to hold you up too much, but I'm sure you've probably heard about all of the car window smashings in Buncombe County. There was up to like 43 or something like that. And I was trying to remember the area that it happened, but now I've forgotten. But I was wondering, had you heard about that? And
I do not have details on that. Did it happen in one night, one weekend?
The last one, no, it's been a series of nights, and the last one was at the Biltmore Village, not far from the Biltmore House entrance, there at Ichabod's or whatever, however you say that Japanese restaurant. It was in that parking lot area that I saw.
Purses?
Pardon?
Are they taking purses? Is that what they're doing, breaking the window?
They said not necessarily anything stolen, just busted windows. And then the time before that, about a week ago, it was in an apartment complex that was a lot of senior citizens and people who were saying on the news that they just can't afford to have their windows fixed like this. And so I didn't know if you had heard anything, wondered if you saw that trend going on, and if you'd heard they had any leads.
Yeah, I wouldn't know about the leads. We've had one window broken at the park within the last 2 months probably, which is kind of unfortunately normal. I mean, it happens occasionally. It hasn't happened a lot, thank goodness, but they come to break the window, they're watching for purses. And in this particular incident, they were in the parking lot and they saw the people get out and stash their purse in the back seat, so they knew the purse was there.
Yeah.
Popped the window. And they
That's the disturbing part. It just seems like it's totally out of malice, and it's like, not just one or two, it's been several, and it's happened in a couple of 3 different areas.
That there, as far as what happened at our park, that's a trend. I mean, you can almost count on that happening every year. They travel, so they're not from this area, and they're solely looking for that purse.
They rent cars.
By the time she comes back to her car, after she's out there exercising, playing pickleball, whatever she does, by the time she gets back to the card's already been used. And they usually travel. This originally started down in the Miami-Dade area
Florida, yeah.
many years ago, and it's just kind of an MO, and it's kind of spread. It isn't just Miami-Dade anymore, but it's kind of a quick, easy way. And you'll have multiple people in the car, so one person breaks the window, and then somebody else goes and uses a credit card, a third person drives, which makes it harder to prove and investigate, because the person, you got a video breaking the window, it's not the person using the car. None of them are from the area, and so it's a scheme that has been going on for many, many years, and we're aware of it. And that as soon as we hear one window get broken in the park, or maybe it's Henderson County, Jackson Park gets broken into, we're immediately letting our guys know to be in that park, watch that park. because it ain't just gonna be one, you're gonna
It's
start
going to
seeing
be
patterns throughout the
quite a
year.
few.
They don't drive up here just in one car, so a lot of times they'll hit daycares, again, because mama's just running real quick with the baby and leave everything in the car. They'll hurt physical fitness, Plant Fitness, those type of places, because you don't carry your person there, so they know where to go look for the purses.
Yeah, they love park areas
Well,
and
if they're for the same
places
reason.
like that, yeah,
Yeah.
just for those. We've also we're trying to make sure our Parks and Rec maintenance staff to look for anything unusual, and they probably should get with you, Chief, too, more about, I don't know what to look for with these types of vehicles that, I don't know, would
Yeah,
fit a profile or
unfortunately,
things
I think
like that.
fortunately recently we only had one. Because
Yeah.
like, again, normally we have one, there's gonna be a pattern, there's gonna be more than one, and so I think that was a month or two ago. And so I'm grateful that was the only.
They usually rent a vehicle and,
Yep, that too.
Take the tag off.
It makes it difficult to put all the pieces together, and they've been doing it for years because it is difficult.
Chief, what's is the idea with the cars, the Chargers being discontinued, the Durangos,
Yeah,
Jim?
that's the next thing here on my list, I can dive into that now if you want me to.
Sure, council,
As we
ready?
talk about the upcoming
Sure.
budget, unless you
Yep.
have anything further questions about what we're presently doing. Again, I'll
So-
have some information coming pretty shortly. I'll send it to the manager for his review and he can pass it on to you. All right, I got a few little things here as far as things we might be asking for. In order of priority here, the first is the vehicles, not that we're excited about that, but we really have no choice when it comes to vehicles, we have vehicles. So this year, the Dodge Charger is going to be going away. And so if we go towards the Durango, which would be our choice, for 3 Durangos, you're looking at an increase, a total increase, but let me just start with the vehicle increase. The increase in cost is about $4,700 going to the Durango from the Charger. Now, in 2025, they're looking to come up with another sedan option, but we have no idea what that's going to look like at this point, or, how much room it's going to have, or what that vehicle will be, but they are looking to come back with another sedan, possibly in 2025, but as for next year, that won't be an option. So again, the Durango would be $4,700 more per vehicle. We did look at some other vehicles. We looked at the Ford Explorer, we looked at the Chevy Tahoes. For the most part, those are all more expensive than the Durango. If you went with a Chevy Tahoe police rated, like the police package, that's a couple $1,000s more than the Durango. The Chevy Tahoe, they have what's called a special service vehicle. That's actually a few $100s less. I'm not sure what a special service vehicle is. It's not the police rated vehicle. It is a few $1,000s, not a few hundred, excuse me, a few $100s less than the Durango. But I would not recommend that. I think for the small cost, it's not going to be compatible with anything else we have. It will cause problems, I think, for PW. They have certain tools, they have stock of tires and stuff that's all compatible with our vehicles. They're used to working on Dodges. And to bring into something new for a few $100 savings, I don't know that that would be wise. So $4,700 per vehicle, but then we also have to outfit those vehicles with all the trimmings and the cages in the back and the cameras and all that stuff. Typically what we try to do if we take a car offline is we take the equipment out of that car and we put it in the new car. If we take a Durango offline, we take that equipment and put it in the new Durango. That will work for several years. Eventually they're going to change something in the body style and it's not going to work no more.
Won't work.
But we usually will do that at least once, and that way we don't have to constantly be outfitting the car. Of course, if we're just going to go and give up the Chargers and go for the Durango, which again, we really don't have a choice, then we're going to have to outfit the vehicle. So it's about $9,000 to outfit each vehicle. So if you're talking about 3 vehicles, the increase in the price and then the cost for outfitting, you're looking at about $42,000 total, higher than what we needed this year for those same 3 vehicles. So it's pretty significant.
I can't believe the Explorer was more than the Durango.
Yeah, it's $40,689, where the Durango that we get's $39,621.
Do you know the total for all 3 vehicles, fully outfitted and equipped and everything?
Well, I can do some quick math. I'm gonna round it up to 40,000, okay? Instead of
Yeah.
39, I'm gonna round it, that's 120 plus 27, about 150.
150 for 3 vehicles, full outfit?
And that's a couple thousand more, but that's rounded
Yeah.
up.
It's a shame about the Chargers,
Yeah.
but I have heard that the Dodge have done something so much better with their transmissions, you know, used to, they had transmission issue, and there was a mechanic that was mentioning a few days ago that they've done a much better job.
I like them. I do like the Chargers. And I'm not an expert, you know, so I'm really speculating here, you know, you just hear things, but after we had all the COVID stuff and all the issues in the market, you know, I think they've learned that people are willing to pay big bucks, a lot more money to get these cars. And so I think we're losing some of these, you know, if they give up the Dodge Charger, now we gotta pay more, they can bring something in later. I think it works to their advantage as far as business goes. And again, I'm not an expert, that's complete speculation, but otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to me to take that offline. It's worked so well for so long.
Right.
I'm sure there's a business reason for doing it. We're gonna, you know, people are gonna step up and pay more for it, so why wouldn't they, I guess?
And there were some other sedan options that used to be beyond this, just the Charger.
Well, it used to be Impalas, but
Yeah, Chevy Impalas and.
Chiefs
yeah,
probably say,
Caprice.
shh.
The
bad word.
Ford Interceptor, which was, that was
A
another
Ford what?
sedan.
The Crown Vic.
Well, the Crown Vic,
Yeah.
and an Interceptor was,
I've
came
never
after
heard
the
of
Crown
that.
Vic, and so.
I know in
It's
talking
a
to
shame.
Derek at the garage, part of the Charger issue is they were looking at taking all of the Chargers to an electric version.
That's what I was about to ask about.
And that's
It's terrible.
just The amount of mileage and usage and pull on the battery and all.
That's
I just
ridiculous.
Don't
You
see
go to
that.
replace a
Charging
battery, it's
stations,
8 to 10,000 for the battery alone.
It would be a big challenge,
Oh,
it'd be
yeah.
a problem.
That's a big no.
Yeah,
That'd be a huge problem.
yeah, I believe it.
It may be
Seeing
something
that I
that,
do that every day.
it may be something to keep an eye on, though, 'cause I know a lot of car makers are making that transition to a lot of electric vehicles, it seems, just in general.
Hybrid would be a better transition area before, like, but.
Yeah.
You can only go
That just
so
seems like what
far.
the makers are going to, yeah.
Priuses would be cute.
I mean, I'll say, how do you halfway through your
Wouldn't it?
shift, pull a
Stop.
patrol car over, stop,
Absolutely.
charge and what calls for service go? It's not feasible.
Yeah,
And
they,
you don't know when that big call is, we're gonna be sitting on the side of the road for hours.
That's
for
it.
hours running.
Yeah.
Don't have time for that. Nope.
or a police chase or something like that, and then battery run dead.
Yeah, halfway through.
Anything else on vehicles? All right, November, I believe I had forwarded, at least to the manager, some paperwork on a license plate readers. And so hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at that. Some of the numbers have changed on that. But basically, the original plan was to purchase 2 cameras for installation here in Fletcher. And the idea is you kind of put a geographical fence, you pick a couple of places where you catch traffic either coming in or traffic going out. If you were to look at our arrest numbers, trying to be accurate, not over-exaggerate here, but probably at least 80% of our arrestees are not residents of Fletcher. It's probably actually higher than that, and I'm going safe with 80%. And so crime does travel, and a lot of our more serious crimes, robberies, breaking and enterings, are people coming in. And so you put some cameras near the main thoroughfares where people come and go, and then, you know, it catches those vehicles, it catches the license plates, and it is a very helpful tool when it comes to investigation. I used it previously in Illinois very successfully. And so the idea was to buy 2 cameras, and then what that does for us is it gives us access to a whole lot more, because once we're in the system, we can access Henderson County Sheriff's Office cameras, they have 10. We can access Hendersonville's cameras, they have a couple, Tryon has some, Polk County has some. And you might say, well, why do we need to access their stuff? And again, crime does travel. To give you an example, it's not here, but it's from Illinois. We would have a serious crime occurred in our area, in our jurisdiction, and as I don't remember if we had a full plate, partial plate, I'm not sure what it was, but we were able to identify the car, and based upon that car was in the same area every day in Chicago, but on the same block at the same time, we were able to determine where this individual lived. And so we could go into the city and go look for that car, find him, and, you know, make the apprehension to solve our case, because that camera's told us that car was in this neighborhood at this time every day, or, you know, every other day or something. And so, you know, we might have an offender who lives in Tryon, and, you know, we can locate him or find a suspect based upon camera in Tryon. Greenville has some of these cameras, so I believe we'd have access to that. So the original plan was to purchase 2 cameras, and then we'd have access to literally 20, 30 cameras that'll help us with investigations. We've used these cameras already, most frequently with Henderson County. They've helped us solve crimes, identify offenders by use of those cameras. Of course, we have to go to them, and we have to rely on them to take the time to access it and go through them. I mean, sometimes it can be lengthy to do that, where it'd be much more efficient if we, and effective, because we can put in the time on our case. We can't necessarily expect somebody to put hours on their end in on our case. And so the idea would be for us to get some of the cameras for our own, so that way we can access all those cameras, look at the data, and again, we've already used it several times. The problem with my original plan of purchasing 2 cameras is the company has a police package where you have to buy 5 cameras. And that package total, for the first year, would be $18,250, and then it's $15,000 every year thereafter. The extra $3,000 the first year's for installation. They come out and install cameras for you. You can buy, if you only wanted to buy 2 cameras, they have a business package where you can purchase 2 cameras, but you don't get access to all the other cameras. You would only have the data on your 2 cameras. And that would, to me, that would just be a waste of money. If we're going to invest in it, we need to have access on all those other cameras, because that's where you're really going to get your bang for your buck and be able to identify people and solve crime. Does anybody have questions about the cameras themselves and how they work?
I'm curious, do you think 5 cameras is excessive for our small community?
No, not at all. Not at all. My plan would have been, originally my plan would have been, I like to think, I don't want to take advantage of the town, I don't want to take advantage of taxpayers. So my original thought was buy 2 cameras and then watch them work. And then when I come back to you next year, I'm going to say, we saw this case, this case, this case, this case. These things are great. I'd like a couple more. That's the way I anticipated it happening. And again, the idea is you want to hit every major thoroughfare. You kind of put that geofence around your town. So you got 25, you got Fanning Bridge, maybe you got Mills Gap. That way, the bad guy comes and does their thing. We had a robbery yesterday. I don't know if you're familiar with that. We had a robbery yesterday. We didn't get a vehicle description, but if we did, and he's leaving town, that camera would pick that car up. Regardless which way he went, if we had a camera on every major thoroughfare.
Where did that happen?
At the Citgo, right here.
Okay.
Right here, what is it called?
Mr. Pete's, former Mr. Pete's right here.
Was the larceny related vehicle in my neighborhood to that? We had a
No,
larceny of a vehicle.
we don't believe so. We don't, we've recovered that vehicle, by the way. That's a strange case, but we don't think, we've talked about it, we don't think it's related because it was on, thank you very much, this is perfect. It was on camera in Asheville. It was on one of these cameras. So to just set this foundation here, we had a robbery at 9 o'clock at the Citgo. And then later, they take a report of a stolen car. This morning, they take a report of a stolen car just a couple blocks from the Citgo. So you're thinking, all right, he stole the car, did the robbery, took off in the car. But Asheville camera has that car in Asheville at 8 p.m. So he would have stolen the car, he would go back to Asheville, he would come back to do the robbery. So most likely, not that it's impossible, but most likely that's not him. Now, if you didn't have that camera in Asheville, we'd still be thinking that bad guy stole the car and did the robbery. If that makes sense.
Well, it's kind of like what happened on Souther Road that time. The guy that stole a truck in Fairview
Yes.
and then
Oh, yeah,
hit the
yeah.
Jeep, and then went across the pasture behind my home and hit the park and accosted the woman to get her vehicle, and then went to South Carolina. And so, yeah, it's just bizarre how that all fell together.
Well, I can tell you, I've utilized these cameras at work, and I'll give it a plug. We've had a couple of damaged properties and larcenies where we had cameras on the building. We couldn't get the tag numbers from the cameras off those, but we got a vehicle description, color, how many doors. We were able to pinpoint a time frame. We were able to go to the camera system, the direction they went, input that information, and we were able to solve those larcenies and those breaking and
That's cool.
enterings by use of that information that we were able to get off a business camera.
That's awesome.
So,
And you always say that a lot of things that happen in the area are from people that come from other areas and coming through here, and
Most of the time, that's the
Yeah.
case, which is a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing that we don't have too many creeps living under our.
Absolutely. So it's difficult because they're so transient. It's hard to nail without that type of technology.
But it's helpful. So that's a big one. That would obviously be probably our priority. Again, the vehicles we put first because we have no choice but to have vehicles. So, anything more questions on the cameras? And again, you should have that information I sent previously. Again, the numbers, because there I talked about just purchasing 2 versus 5. The numbers have changed. But I put some success in there, the success the county has had. That has increased. I had gotten some new numbers. Just last week, somebody sent me an email. So, obviously, they've made more apprehensions and collected more stolen property and such since I sent that information in November.
It's just a tremendous use of technology, it really, yeah.
Well, I think people are getting used to it now. When we did this in Illinois, there was some concern, and it was just, what it really came down to, and it's kind of humorous, but I mean, this is what it came down to. It came down to, politicians worried about people know who they're going out with and they're married and who they're with at midnight, and those type of things, and that really had them all freaked out and stuff. And
Wow.
so we had to put some things in policy that we were going to do audits, and that they would have to, document the case number, and we couldn't just be randomly checking parade plates, which is, we shouldn't be doing that anyway, so that would be a problem. If those concerns came up, we could certainly manage that through policy and conduct our audits.
That's pretty bad.
And that's what it came down to. There was a lot of concern about that, and basically people just didn't want people.
If you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't worry.
They're not conspicuous, so it's not like they're gonna stick out.
What's that?
They're not conspicuous, so they're not gonna stick out like a sore thumb. They just kind of fade in,
But
and people get used to them being there.
But it's a good auditing tool to make sure police, aren't using it inappropriately to be
Yes.
checking
Yes,
out people.
I would
so.
support that. I would support having that in place. Anything else on the cameras? Okay. What we're looking to do, I'd like to increase the training budget. Now, this year, the training budget was decreased a little bit, and I would like to increase that. We have Sergeant Diaz, he's our CID sergeant. We actually have him scheduled to attend a National Forensic Academy beginning in October of '24. That's a $12,000 course. Now, we plan to send them to that, if we got to beg, borrow, and steal to get him there. And we've already started cutting this fiscal year, cutting back, so we'll be able to do that for him. And what I hope to accomplish by that is add a lot of depth to our department, our ability to identify offenders and solve crimes through forensic. I could very easily, I didn't, but I could very easily put a list together of all the crimes we have solved this last year through forensics. About a year ago, we solved, and I mentioned this, you probably don't recall, but we solved 7 different cases, a couple of them being over a year old based upon forensics fingerprints, and that person's, in prison. We've solved more crime this year based on fingerprints. We've solved several crimes based on DNA this year, and that is all from just basic training. The detectives having just some of the basics. Because we're so small and because we're limited, necessarily resources, they don't get all the best of the best training. They don't get, we're getting more than we had, but, they're doing this with basic stuff. So the idea behind it is sending him to this. It's at the University of Tennessee. It's known across the country, the National Forensic Academy. Again, it's a 10-week course. He basically lives there for 10 weeks. It costs $12,000. It will give us some significant depth. And so my vision is, as we continue to grow, and I expect we will into the future, we can continue to become professionalized, we can continue to become more independent, where we can take care of business ourselves. And I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit, because I'm not the person we get along wonderfully with most of the people around us. I'm with the director from Blue Ridge Community College, which is why I was late coming up here. We deal with Sheriff Griffin all the time. We work very well with him. And so we're not, we don't want to get to the point where we're saying we're trying to isolate ourselves and we want to be independent, do everything ourselves, and we don't help from other people. That's not what I'm talking about. We'll continue to work well with others, and we'll continue to support them and ask for their support. For instance, if we came across a gruesome homicide scene that's clearly homicide and we needed help, I will not hesitate to reach out to help, probably the SBI. They do wonderful work. I'll reach out to the Sheriff's Office. That's not a problem. We're going to continue to have those relationships. But what I want to try to avoid is those boy who cried wolf moments. And so we might get called to a scene of a death, potentially, and we're not sure because we just have that basic training. We don't have any in-depth training. We're not sure what we got. It looks a little weird. And so we call for the help, we call for the support, we call for SBI, and the experts come out with all their tools, and they go, oh, no, this is, it's natural. And meanwhile, we called them out on their Saturday, took them away from their family, and we called them out on a holiday. One time, I can't remember what holiday it was, but we happened to come out on a holiday. And so I'm trying to get some depth so we have that expert that's going to be able to make those calls, so we're not wasting other people's time, wasting resources. Again, if it's clear that we need help, we'll continue to ask for that help. So I want to make sure when I talk about us becoming independent, that we're not trying to, that we think we're the best, or we're going to try to take our ball, go home, and not work well with others. We'll continue to do that, as that is most effective and efficient. But I think this will add tremendous depth, but it is a significant cost. And again, we've already started to plan for that by making some cuts. Next week is the Chiefs Association conference that I'm not going to go to because I'm doing my part to cut so we have money to send in to this class. But if we could get an increase in the training budget, that would make it a whole lot easier for us to do that. Questions on that one?
Are you going to have your officers have like a minimum requirement of how long they've worked for us or something to that nature before you would send them to that training?
Well, I'm only going to send one person to that training.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to send Detective Diaz, Sergeant Diaz to that training. Yes, that's very good. That's a very good question, because you send some people, once they have that training,
Yeah.
first of all, they're remarkable. And somebody else may be like, hey, they got that training already. Yeah, come over here, we'll pay you a little more to be a detective. No, so I'm talking about identifying one person who's committed to our agency, who's already running the investigation division, and who is very, very committed to that. And he's the most experienced in that division already. He's got several years here under his belt, so I don't expect any problems with him. Anything can happen, but
Yeah.
I think, so we already have him registered. It's just a matter of, like I said, we're going to have to get paid for it one way or the other.
I wonder if that's the same training that Kelly Oliver did for the sheriff's
Yeah, it's a
department.
lot of fun.
Okay,
That's-
yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's well
And I'll be
known.
honest with you, when I first came here, and it's only been 3 years, when I first came here, I would have never thought an agency this small, and that would never crossed my mind to send anybody to that. But as I see the work we do, and I see that we continue to grow, and just last week, if you read the monthly report, and there's one since then, I'm not even gonna remember now. In the last 10 days, we've had 3 significant cases that we've solved, and the detectives have been in here on every weekend, getting called in on the weekend to handle these. Yesterday, we had the robbery, that's not solved, but they were out last night, detectives were out last night, and so you're really starting to see a lot of commitment and a lot of drive, and they got good heart. So to give them what they need, that we can continue to grow and be successful, I see a place for that today, where 3 years ago, I would have been like, that's too much money, we can't do that.
Well, it's the training that you hope you never need.
Yeah. But even on the small stuff, having that skill set, we can, like I said, be more efficient. And, you pick up a fingerprint because you're better qualified in fingerprints, and you can solve a lot of these theft. Don't have to be homicide, you solve a lot of theft-related crimes. And we've had good success doing that, but I think with the skill set, we'll be able to monopolize on that more, and he can actually then train his people, because he's going to know more, he's going to know better. He's got a lot more training experience, he can pass that on to others.
Okay.
We good on the questions there? Last thing I just got is some tactical shields. We would like to get 4 shields, 1 for each patrol squad, so that they have them out there in the field if we end up having a high-risk situation where they need to be protected. It could be an officer down, it could be somebody with a gun. A lot of times, it's the, a domestic call that comes in, the 911 call, where they hang up and now we can't get anybody back to the phone, and we go to the house, nobody's answering the door, and a decision's made, we need to go in and make sure somebody's okay. Maybe they got in the car and left, we don't know, but based on the circumstances, we don't want to just walk in the door, we need to have a little extra layer of protection. And so we would like to have 4 of those, 1 per squad, so there's always one out there. And they run about $2,500 a piece, so that for 4 of them, that'd be about $10,000. I haven't researched the exact type or the brand as of yet. There are several different ones out there, but that would be it as far as what I predict requesting here in the coming budget.
How many tactical shields did you say?
4.
4.
It's 1 for each squad.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much for your time. If you have any other questions, anytime, let me know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All righty, Jabba, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, giving us time to talk to you about what we do, who we are at Public Works. This past year, through the generosity of the budget improvements that we got last year, we got a Tommy lift tailgate for one of our new trucks. We use that thing more than I would have ever thought we would. It's just unbelievable how much simpler it's made our life doing it, and I think it's for that. We were going to get a dump bed with it, but that didn't pan out because you'd have to attach it to the dump bed and have a void warranty for the dump bed and void warranty for the tailgate. So when that happened, we had the money left over, we bought a trailer. The other trailer that we had was a hand-me-down from Parks and Rec. And we rebuilt it pretty much, and it was adequate, but it wasn't very good. So now we have a good trailer that we can haul any of our mowers when we go out to mow at Underwood or other places for that we do. And for that, I think it's awesome. We did get us a Gator-type vehicle. It replaced our golf cart. And, we use that thing. It's just amazing how, when you get something like that, how profitable and how great it is. The chief was talking earlier about that. He requested one. I was going to request one and got a grant for it, and then he got turned down. And I remember him talking about this, and when he told me that happened, I was afraid he was going to come down there and try to take ours from us. It is so great. When we put up the garland, anything we do on 25, that's what we take, because it'll maneuver up and down sidewalks. You don't get a truck out on the road as much, so it's a great thing. The big ticket item from last year was the safety improvements in Town Hall. It's in the process right now of being done. You can see the door and the door lock behind you. We've got one in Mark's office, we got one in the detective's office, we got one at the gym on each side. And this guy's working through to get these in. It takes about 4 hours, a door mechanism to put them in. And so he's over halfway done and did that. Also, Britton Tilson, we have the shop drones. We have to turn them in for approval. I've got some work that we have to do. We're going to do it this Saturday because we'll have to go into the office and just wreak havoc, and it'd be noisy taking all the ceiling tiles down to reinforce that overhead. So we're going to do that on the weekend. And that's been a big ticket item. It's not something I wanted to do, but I think it's something that we've had to do just for the way society has become. And for that, I appreciate that. Now, for the CIP this past year, we received a tractor. We got a new Kubota tractor. It's 110 horsepower. It's a good size tractor to do anything that we need to do. Along with it came a set of forks, a grappling bucket, a box blade, an offset mower, and a scrape line. Greg was talking earlier about that he would like to get a tractor that he could do that. Well, long story short, but it never did, it seems that way. I was looking at doing that also for us for this year, because we could use it to mow on the side of our roads that would reach back over the ditch back to keep limbs from hanging up. But it was on my priority list, it just fell too far down. But our tractor will take it. All we have to do is just go get a price, I've got a price on it. It's going to run roughly $47,000. Then mount on back, and you can just go both sides of the road. You can mow around the edge of the park and do all of that too. So we've got the tractor. He can buy that or use it.
So basically, they can take that same sidearm, if they purchase that, what sidearm versus a tractor, you can, both ends can share it.
It works for we do it and just, at Public Works, we're a support group. We do whatever for whoever. It's something that we can work in our schedules to work. Once you ever get ahead of it, you can stay ahead of it, and it's just like any time you maintain something, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So we can do that, and it might be something we do. Parks and Rec calls on us quite a bit, say we need help, we need this, and so we'll go do it. The police department, same way. Chief's got a crew down there right now, fingerprinting the car. And they, every so often, Detective, or Sergeant Diaz will call me and say, we need to use your facilities. And I said, don't worry about it, just go to it. You know, you got the keys, they go in there, they make themselves at home, they do what they need to, and it's been beneficial for them. And you know what, if we need help, we do. We just stay out of his way and does it. It's funny, he's talking about the fingerprints, they was over there fingerprinting the car when I come through, I seen it, I thought, you know, this is modern technology in action. So that's what we've got this past year. And this next year, I got several other items that I would like to request. First of all, I'd like to request a new employee. Now, let me explain why I think we need a new employee. Our town has grown since I've been in this position, since I've been in town. Our town has grown tremendously. And we are currently doing garbage 4 days a week. And in order for us to do garbage 4 days a week, we average 770 plus cans a day. Now, you think, well, that's not too bad. The developments that's going in off of Rutledge Road, we're going to add that to one route. That's 150 homes roughly. And you think about it, well, that ain't too bad. We can do it. But we've been running into problems. The past 2 months, 33% of the time, our truck has been overweight. We can do the garbage, but we can't haul because it's so heavy. And, you know, these developments, they're coming in. If you get a development like Stonehall, where it's a 55 plus club, their trash is light. But you get a development where it's got 5 or 6 bedrooms, and most of those are filled with kids, their garbage is heavy. On the average, a trash can holds 30 pounds of garbage. If you take them and just do the math. But if the guys can't believe that, they think, I've never picked up a 30-pound can of garbage. Some of them weigh 100 or more, and they do. So if we took on these 2 developments off Rutledge Road, that's 4,500 pounds extra a day that we'll have to put on the truck. Trucks done to the limit. That would go on Wednesday's route. This past week, it was 1,800 pounds overnight. Well, you think, well, you know, what's the big deal about being overweight? Well, there's 2 things. If, for some reason, the DMV stops us, the driver will get a ticket. And, you know, actually, it would be our responsibility because we don't know. We have no way of knowing that truck's loaded weight line. We can look at the capacity of the ram, how much is left in the truck, but we can't tell the volume by how much it weighs in there. The second thing is if we were involved in an accident, the first thing they do is they come out and they check your brakes. They check everything underneath, and then you pull the pump scales. And if you have a truck that's overweight and has an accident, that's not good. That's where the others go. So for the safety aspect of it, we're going to end up having to go to garbage 5 days a week. Not for the physical aspect of it. Our guys can handle it, the truck can haul. It's just not within the legal realms of the law to do that. So if we do that, on Mondays, I have 3 guys in my shop that that's where we try to get our big items knocked out in the first of the week. Because you got that, what I'm doing with my maintenance guys, then I have the opportunity to use the garbage guys. So that, you know, and no offense, that what we do, we call it the fire department man. On Mondays, we surround and drive right there, because we got everybody in, you can get knocked in, you can get knocked out. Well, if I lose those 3 guys, and they'll be persistently doing garbage the whole time, then it's going to put me behind. And the perfect example is today. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a lot of sickness going around. I've had 2 people out. I've had a lot of people hurt. Nothing to work with. But it's just made me realize with vacations and people being off and with everything going on, could really use on one point.
How many are in the department now?
Counting me, 9, counting Ken, who works 16 hours a week, 10. 3's on garbage, so that leaves me and 5 others to do. And one of the big responsibilities that really fell in our laps a lot here lately is our mechanic has been having to help us out a lot instead of doing the things that he needs to with the police cars or whatever else he needs. And he does, you know, not every time you go down there does he have a car on the rack and working on it. But he does a lot of phone calls, he does a lot of planning, coordinating, and that nature. So it would be great to have an extra employee for that.
Do you know the cost of an extra employee would be?
Heather can tell you,
Yeah.
and we will at the latter part of the time. The salary's gonna be just shy of $40,000, and the benefits are probably $15,000, so I would say $50,000 to $55,000. That's just a ballpark.
And this is just a maintenance worker.
How's turnover been?
So,
So how's turnover been in Public Works?
well, I don't know how to say this, and I don't want to offend nobody when I say it, but 6 of the last 8 people I've left, that have left for more money.
Yeah.
But most of the guys that come, they enjoy the job, they enjoy the town, they enjoy the benefits that we have, and they enjoy the personnel, the camaraderie that we have. We're a small group, but we're a tight group, and everybody helps each other.
Yeah, well, I understand people gotta pay bills right now.
That's what you gotta do. But very seldom, you know, the chiefs all the time saying, you know, he's down 1, down 2, down 3. We're pretty tight on that part. And whenever someone goes down, it hurts us.
I'm curious, are they leaving to go to, well, if you know, do you know if they're going to another public sector job or a private sector job?
Both.
Both?
Yeah. That's just different places. There, right after the pandemic, most of the people go on private sector because they were offering some more money.
All right.
We have had more too, it's what the different agencies, the government facilities, a little better.
Our benefits still remain really strong, which helps to compensate a little
Yeah.
bit, but, you know, especially younger you are, you know, and you have a lot of younger employees in there to get that pay up that's more important to
Yeah,
them starting out and trying to make a living than,
yeah.
hey, you've
Than
got
the
a great,
benefits at the moment,
you know,
yeah.
401K or health insurance.
The older you become, the wiser you become, that you can see,
Yeah.
there's certain things that are beneficial to you. And when you're young, you look for the dollars.
They say you can't eat benefits.
That's true. I've been there and done that. I've done them too.
Yeah.
Okay. Next on my list for what I'd like to request for this year is trash cans. This past year, and put my glasses on so I can be correct. Currently, we have 325 trash cans in hand right now.
You have what now?
325 trash cans in hand, sitting in the green building.
Okay.
Okay, the development off of Rutledge Road, that's about 150 right there. So that's gonna knock me down pretty good. This past year, we replaced 150 cans, just from wear and tear. Anything's gonna wear out. So, one more development, one more year where we have a lot of replacements, we're gonna be running out of trash. And so what we do is we get a tractor and trailer load of trash cans. Bring up here, we'll stack them, store them in there where I ask needed. And that's just part of the price of doing business. You've got, if we supply the cans, you've got to have one.
How many did you want? I mean, how
I think
much is
it's
a
real
tractor
odd
trailer
number. It's
load?
like 578.
And one tractor trailer
That's a
load?
tractor trailer load.
How much are they a apiece.
They went up, it was $50, now they went up to $55 again. But I've not looked recently, I will get to that, to see where they've gone, if they've gone up now since the last time we ordered. So it's looking,
That's
I'll
terrible.
have prices on that at our next meeting, so we'll know exactly what it's gonna cost us for.
I'm curious on the trash cans. Do we have a lot of animals getting into people's trash cans in town?
It's very strange how it's just isolated. You know, in South Chase, there's a place with about 3 or 4 of them. And one of the guys got a video of when they were picking up the next street over, the bear turns trash can over.
Yeah.
Has a trash bag, runs off with it in his mouth, going down the road.
Yeah, I was wondering because South Chase resident asked me why we don't have animal-proof or bear-proof cans. And I was like, well, I don't know if it's absolutely, I don't know how many, how often it happens. And they said, well, they would pay an extra fee to have that. I'm like, well,
It's funny,
That's
you
not a-
can go to some residents, and they'll have ratchet strapped over it, they'll have bungee cords. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just no duct tape is all we ask, because it's hard to get it put back on. But you can see it, they're in your area, you're on Cane Creek, down next to where Bob lived, they're all through there. It's Stone Hall, you know, it's just generic for this area.
I get him about once a week.
Yeah, my bear knows,
South Chase.
trash gets picked up on Thursday, he hits us every Wednesday night. I mean, I don't get it, I know that Tuesday when I get off work, I pull my trash can in the garage and then bring it back out Thursday morning.
Wow.
He's got a calendar, he knows when.
There's this web,
Yeah, now if you
got
could
a
talk to
calendar
Waffle
on
House
it.
and close it up where my wife would quit eating there, I probably wouldn't have that much.
there's this website called Signs on the Cheap. I wish we had one trash cans on the cheap because this is like $32,000. That's terrible.
But, you know,
I noticed you didn't drop that price point. You just said, oh, 55 a can. I need a tractor trailer load.
well, then you're gonna pay an enormous amount for shipping. Or you get 1 can or a whole can, so it's just best to get a tractor trailer. And I'd have to, and you know, I can't remember exactly what was in there.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, it's the price it's just what it is. It's what it is.
And back to the bear thing real briefly, as much as people can put, and I realize folks want to get stuff out the night before getting up, going to work, but as much as they can put it out the day of,
Yeah.
that cuts down on the
That's what
bears
we
getting it, yeah.
So we've seen them in front of the garbage truck before.
Chasing the buffet down the road. Buffet on wheels.
Delta Green Snap Day. Okay, so that's just an item that we have, and I'll have more numbers precise on this part, because you have to reach out and get everything. Another thing I'd like to replace is our Skag mower. We have a 2008 Skag mower. It's 15 years old, it's going to be 16 this year. It's starting to leak. We have it set up to where it's to use only as an emergency, because of that's just what kind of shape it needs to be gone. So we've got our time out of it for 15 years. You think how much grass it has.
You said it's 15 years old?
It's
And you have another already, do you have another one?
We have a total of 4. And
Okay.
It's time to replace these. You know, just periodic, we just put one out and basically.
Yeah.
That's one thing that we do, is that when we get rid of something, it's time to get rid of it. You know, there's a point where we're putting so much money into it, that's not worth the value that you're going to get back from it. So we take care of our stuff, we maintain it, and it's lasted for 15 years. That's a lot right there.
That's a long time.
How much is a new mower, Chapman?
Like
$18,000
18, rough 18?
for what we have in industrial time.
Yeah.
Do you have anything cheap on your list?
Just me. Well, I do have some good news, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Another thing I'd like to do is, this past week we had an incident with our garbage truck, where there's a little bit of fender bender in there. And the only thing that saved us was the cameras that we had installed. And this is the first time it's involved us to where we was physically involved with accident. But the garbage truck has been involved in a different way for many other roads, where they're sitting at an intersection. I'll give you 2 examples. One morning he's going to Mr. Pete's, that's what I still call it, to get fuel before they started out in South Chase. He's sitting there at the intersection. The truck was in the southbound lane, we'll turn left on there again. The light turned yellow. And then turned red, so the truck just come on through because he's sitting out in the intersection. Well, there's a car going northbound in the lane. And it's gonna go through it. And when they did, they glided, one of them clipped the other one, spun it around, rolled it over, took out 2 street lights down there. And all this was caught on camera. And they come and of course the guy stopped to see and make sure everything there. And when the police department came, they said, was your camera on? They said, yes. So they go up there and they review our footage and do everything. Same thing happened at Ingalls. They went to Ingalls, used the bathroom, turned around to go back down Airport Road. Sitting there at the red light, turn screen, car, and our garbage truck, it ain't gonna go 0 to 60. About 45 seconds, well, it seems like it's slow. So it turned green, the guy beside him took off. And the guy coming south on 25, run through the red light, he started it over. I mean, just all of it. And it's just calling on camera footage. This is, it's not that I want to know where my guys are at or anything like that, but it's just a safety feature. It covers ourselves in so many ways. And that's just something I think I'd like to see. The ones in the garbage truck, the chief and them, and he's not here, so I'm talking to him. They have the high technology. Everything, they come in, we just mounted something to the wall up here for these new body cameras to where they will come in, download automatically, go to the cloud, do all that. We don't need that. All we need is a SIM card we can put into it. It records over after so many days. And we just, every once in a while we may have to replace a SIM card or something like that nature. But the ones for the pickups are not expensive, ones for our big truck, they're not big. Probably somewhere around $1,000 or more. And the ones for our pickups are probably a couple $100. Okay, last thing. And it's going to be an increase in our item this year is disposal fees. It's killing us. We done spent over our whole budget this year for disposal of brush and leaves. Okay? So that's another, just something else we have to do. We're going to have to pay. If we can't find nowhere to get rid of them, we're currently taking them here to County Landfill because there's no birth to take.
And we're going to explore one other option on that, if we can get back to Case on Builders. They had a tub grinder, and it was a much less expensive option. Tub grinder broke, then they didn't have staffing for it, then the permit lapsed. I don't know. It may not be a huge priority for them to have that as a service, but if we could get back to using that, that's the least expensive option. I was going to approach at least maybe a couple of the other municipalities and see what are they spending on disposal costs for brush. And if they would, if Case on Builders would repair this or get their permit and have staffing, maybe if they can, we can guarantee them enough volume, might make it more
What was it again?
worthwhile. It's a tub grinder.
Tub grinder?
A tub grinder. To grind up all the brush.
It's like on a tractor trailer bed.
Yeah. It's a big, huge thing. They throw it in there. It's just amazing, and it turns it to chips.
How come all
Mulches
of
it.
you have seen this and I have not?
I haven't seen it either. I haven't seen it either.
When you have like natural disasters and tons of debris, they'll bring in a couple.
These big developers.
And he had it, but then it's broke down, and so
And
you
then
no
it
longer
was
use
fixed,
it.
and then the permit lapsed. They have to have a state permit to operate this thing. And
I'll see him tomorrow if you'd like for me to ask him about
I
it.
was gonna call him again and say, Chip, is there any time that you're gonna put that back? Because that would be helpful, and to us, I can't guarantee if like Hendersonville or Laurel Park would be
But it's
interested.
a great idea.
But I was gonna talk to them and say, what are you guys paying, and would you entertain? Because there's just a cost to do that, it's a hassle.
It's been time consuming.
Yeah.
It's just like going to
That's
taking the
a
trash to the dump right now.
time-consuming.
Every time we go over there, we sit in line until we cross the scales. It don't matter if it's 5 cars, 5 cars,
Yeah.
no, we sit.
Yeah. And Hendersonville gives theirs away, but still, they have to bring a tub grinder in maybe a couple times a year, and it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to get that for a day.
The last time we had ours around here on site, it was $6,000.
Yeah, it's not cheap, so.
And that's the minimum fee that they would charge.
Yeah, so,
And last thing is the CIP for this coming year. I was scheduled to replace the vehicle that I drive, but it's only got 60-some thousand miles on it, and it's still in good shape, so I'm most likely not one. We will forego with that at this time. And that will go up into the CIP process in the next couple of years, because I'm not putting that many miles on it. Any questions?
Y'all do a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, we thank you.
Do a fantastic
Jim.
job.
we're running out of.
All righty, Mr. Roofer, the floor is yours.
Need to stretch. Evening, everybody. I won't have a lot to go over with you. I do not anticipate a lot of any major change to my budget. I don't have big ticket items like whatever piece of machine Jim I need to. The only thing I'll mention too is a rough concept for you that would not be under my budget, but would be something that Mark and I would be working towards as a possible CIP expenditure. Would be, as you know, over the years, we've had the ongoing discussions about trying to figure out how to get to a Cane Creek Greenway extension. We're eagerly waiting to hear back from Rebecca Robinson. We've had some interesting conversations with her a few months ago. There is a small grant program that the official details haven't been released. The funding cycle hasn't been announced. But it's going to be for smaller projects, so it might be something that we'll be able to at least start getting kind of a placeholder onto the Meritor property. We're hoping to have Rebecca here in front of you in February to talk about this potential grant opportunity. We were going to talk about it with you in January, but with the details, we're still waiting for the details of the grant program to come out, so that might get.
And I briefed him a little bit under manager comments at this
So
meeting.
that'll be something that if that program, we've already had McGill look at this little leg from Highway 25 where the little sidewalk ends and curls around into the cornfields. McGill has found it to be in the parameters budget-wise of what the grant program will cover. And the grant's going to involve a 50-50 match, which could get into that discussion on money that had been kind of eyeballed for greenways in the CIP of the, I think we're entering year 4.
Year 4.
Of it, but, and we've not pulled any funding from that theoretical earmark. So this may be the year we talk about it. We're going to, again, hopefully know more from Rebecca soon. And we're talking in the ballpark of a grant that would be for a project about $500,000, meaning with a 50% match requirement. So hypothetical, half covered in grant and half covered by a CIP where we theoretically already earmarked for greenways. It's just not been budgeted year to year because there hasn't really been anything to put it into yet. So with regard to my general planning and zoning budget, again, I don't anticipate any major changes. The stormwater program, we're kind of humming along with McGill Associates on a good chunk of it, Land and Sky Regional Council on another chunk of it. Just continuing to work with them and identify needs. We'll likely get through our current 5-year cycle, which we're just now entering year 3 of our current 5-year cycle. by the time we get audited again near the end of that 5-year cycle, it could identify greater needs in that realm, whether it's for funding or for staffing or who knows what down the road. So that's just something we're just continuing to monitor as we go through the years. Happy to answer any questions, or you want to get to have a bite before the meeting.
Don't like we have any questions. Good.
We're good.
I think we're good.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Alrighty, and Mark.
Yeah, and I'll try and be brief and interested, because we're running out of time here if you're going to try and get in there and get a sandwich. Just real quick, I put some goals in the budget document and talked to you about that, earlier in the budget process. So just kind of accomplishments on the goals or progress, and then just some brief comments on CIP and then other upcoming projects. So I had in there about maintaining our existing service levels without really any major modifications to that. We were able to do that and lower our tax rate substantially, which was good with this being a reval year. We didn't quite get to revenue neutral, but darn close. We went from 34 cents to 28 cents, so that was a 6-cent drop in our millage rate, and 27.7 was technically revenue neutral. So we're thankful to be able to do that and keep things where we're at with the services we provide and the level of service. CIP projects, our other goal is to try and maintain it at 8.5 cents of our tax rate funding. And CIP projects are capital improvement plan projects in the plan. We do smaller capital projects that are in staff's departmental budgets, but things typically over 25,000, we try and cover in our capital improvement plan in an annual budget within the CIP. So we did lower that then from 8.5 cents that we've typically used to 7 cents because of the large drop in our tax rate. But we were still able to fund all the projects that we had planned for that year in the CIP, which was good, even though we had to go from 8.5 to 7 cents. The third goal was about traffic. We were trying to resolve our traffic mitigation requirements with the town center project and retain our former developer. And unfortunately, we were unsuccessful with that for all the reasons I've talked to you about. So those were kind of some broad goals that we had in the budget. Capital improvement plan, we're still going to, the plan is to use 7 cents of our 28-cent tax rate to fund the capital projects. Use 5 cents of that 7 cents for debt service, so it's covering projects that are financed, and then 2 of that 7 cents for projects that are funded with cash. And current projects on the debt service side this year was Town Hall at just over $541,000. And that was Town Hall, the acquisition of the land to the north of Town Hall, and reconstructing Old King Creek Road was all under that loan. We have a garbage truck, Highway 25 land acquisition as part of the town center project as a debt service, and that was at just over $164,000, and then a garbage truck that we did a 3-year loan on, which I believe are heading into year 3 on that, so that'll be rolling off after this year. And then copier lease payments, which is an auditing requirement at just over $11,000. We did 3-car police car rotation in the current year on the cash side, so projects funded with the 2 cents. The tractor, utility tractor with attachments that Public Works purchased, that was the other thing. And then Parks and Rec has a truck replacement in there for the current year. So coming year, this will be year 4 of our CIP. We do a 5-year CIP. And I'll be talking to you about the projects when we get to the funding, specific funding, the budget workshop where we go through everything, all the requests. And if you want to see what's in there for the coming year, it's in the capital improvement plan. I can, if you don't have a copy, share that with you and show you what's planned for year 4. Sometimes we make adjustments based on revenue that's available. So some comments real quickly on revenues. Our unassigned fund balance, you just heard at the presentation of the audit, it's grown substantially again. We're at 6.3 million, so that's 75.5% fund balance as a percentage of our general fund expenditures. So it's real healthy. We're actually outside of our range. We have a fund balance policy. We try and keep it between 45% and 65% as a percentage of general fund.
And we're at 75?
We're at 75 now. Last year, we talked about, and we just didn't quite get there, about using some of that excess reserves to try and get us back to that high end of 65%. Heather will be presenting something to you probably in the February meeting about looking at some options to do that, to try and adhere to our fund balance policy.
The reason it's 75% is because of that ARPA money, correct?
No, well, no.
No.
It's
Okay.
just our revenues exceeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ARPA money is a fund balance designation. Well, we used it for salary and benefits. The amount it freed up, we did a fund balance designation for over 2.6 million for capital projects. So that's not part of
So
the
that's not part of the 75.
unassigned fund balance. And then our property tax base, we'll probably see some slight adjustments on it, nothing large, based on industrial growth and residential. Sales tax will probably taper off a little bit this year. I don't anticipate some of the growth that we've been seeing. Retail spending's been, I think, down a little bit. I think we'll hit our target for this year, and that's our second largest source of revenue. With property taxes, sales tax, and then utility sales. I just want to make quick comments on those. Utility sales appears to be on target. So nothing's out of whack here as far as 6 months in, as far as hitting our revenue projections. But sales tax might be one we got to kind of watch, that we might not have as much growth, which has been very helpful to funding our overall budget. And then lastly, the other projects, looking at, again, continue our dialogue and negotiations with the Town Center project for a partner. Our King Creek Greenway extension, we've been talking about that and getting, identifying grant sources for it. And then lastly, the sewer project that we looked at a couple years ago with potential ARPA funding, trying to bring that back up and talk to our legislators about possible funding from them. Maybe use some of your capital reserves for that as a possibility. But going back to that same neighborhood, the Westfeld Road, North Hudson Lane, and Dogwood Terrace, because they have really underperforming septic areas there. So, and that's all I had at this time.
Right, any questions? Okay. Now, is it appropriate to recess past 6 PM, or do we need to be right back at 6 PM?
It's up to y'all.
I make a motion.
Well, you want to recess until 6 PM?
6:15.
I was thinking
6:15.
6:15. Is that what
I
you
will
mean?
try and let the folks out there know.
Yeah, that was my one concern.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, what, can we make it 6:10?
Sure.
Yeah.
Can we do that? Okay.
Let's do that.
All right, is there a motion to recess to 6:10?
Yes, sir.
All right, we had our motion, is there a second?
Second.
Our motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We're at recess until 6:10.
Thank you. I'll let them know out here since we have some.
Give us just a few minutes to run to the bathroom.
Yeah, I know, well, I was like, man, 15 minutes is a little tight for the bathroom and everything.
We may walk.
More than 4 this year.